She used her master key on my bedroom, thinking no one would ever catch her. She thought her little badge gave her permission to step into my private space to rummage through drawers to invade the one sanctuary my wife and I had left. What she didn't know was that I had been waiting for this exact moment, watching from the garage as my cameras and sensors lit up. And when that lock clicked behind her when she crossed that threshold, I knew she had finally trapped herself. My name's Ethan Sorrell. I'm a former Navy electronic warfare specialist, and I moved to Whispering Pines with my wife Emily, hoping for peace after a long stretch of chaos back in Fresno. We wanted quiet, normal neighbors, trimmed lawns, nothing fancy. But what we got was a homeowners association that acted less like a community board and more like a private police force. And at the front of that little empire was Karen DeLoqua, the vice president of the HOA. The kind of woman who wears her title like armor, flashing it at anyone who dares to question her. It started small. A citation for paint discoloration on the side of the house, never mind that the color matched the approved list. A week later, another fine for a rosemary bush supposedly blocking the sidewalk. That bush had been there long before we bought the place. Then came the kicker, a violation for interior window clutter visible from the street, even though our blinds had been shut tight. Emily opened that envelope with shaking hands. She didn't even speak, just looked at me like we were back in Fresno, like the past was happening all over again. That was the moment I knew this wasn't about rules. It was about control. Now, I don't spook easy, but I also don't gamble on paranoia. So I set a trap. I rewrote the firmware on our smart lock-built hidden RFID loggers into the molding and tucked cameras in places no one would ever think to check. And in the bedroom, I placed a bait drawer stacked with fake zoning documents, fabricated receipts, even a memo about ADA compliance that I highlighted just enough to be irresistible. I wasn't sure if I was being targeted or if Karen was just power drunk, but I promised Emily that no one would ever violate her space again without consequences. So when I saw Karen on my monitor using a master key to slip inside our home, I didn't feel surprise. I felt vindication. 32 seconds. That's all it took before she opened the drawer. My cameras caught everything. Her ID badge, her voice reciting Section 8B of the homeowner agreement, her fingers brushing across the forged memo like it was nothing. She thought she was invincible. But I had her. And yet, even with that footage, even with the logs and timestamps, I still questioned myself. Sitting there in the garage, the hum of servers all around me, I thought, what if I'm crazy? What if Emily and I moved all this way just to repeat the same nightmare we left behind? Maybe this is just what living under an HOA means. You keep your head down, you pay the fines, you let them win. For one long, ugly night, I thought about quitting. Emily didn't push me, but I saw it in her eyes, fear. She was tired of battles, tired of looking over her shoulder. And for a moment, I almost gave in. Almost. Then the universe tossed me a lifeline. His name was Marcus Holloway, the HOA secretary. He was always quiet during meetings, hunched over his notepad, never challenging Karen. But I noticed the way his jaw tightened when she mentioned interior inspections. After one meeting, I followed him out. Under the glow of a street lamp cigarette trembling between his fingers, he admitted he knew. He knew Karen had crossed lines. He just didn't know how to stop her. At first, Marcus wouldn't commit, wouldn't risk his skin. But a few nights later, he slipped me a flash drive. No label, scratched plastic cheap. Inside audio recordings of board meetings, proof that Karen wasn't just harassing homeowners, she was burying real complaints. The most damning one, a broken ADA pool lift chair, a federal requirement for accessibility. A neighbor had filed a complaint. Karen made sure it disappeared, and on tape her voice was crystal clear. That lift has been broken since March. It's not our problem unless someone gets hurt. I played it back 3 times, my stomach turning colder with each word. This wasn't about weeds or paint anymore. This was about liability, about law, about negligence. Karen had handed me the bullet, and I was already holding the gun. From that moment, I stopped playing defense. I filed a formal complaint with the city's ADA Enforcement Division. uploaded the footage, the audio, every time-stamped log. But I wasn't finished. Because HOA politics thrive in silence, and I wasn't about to let Karen hide behind closed doors anymore. The night before the monthly HOA town hall, I scheduled 3 posts. Nextdoor, the community forum, and the local Facebook group. Each contained a 6-minute video. No commentary, no theatrics, just cold facts. Karen's unauthorized entry into my bedroom. Karen dismissing ADA compliance as a resale optics issue. Screenshots of falsified meeting minutes. It was all there. Brutal, undeniable. At exactly 8:00 p.m., the post went live. Within minutes, the neighborhood lit up. Phones buzzed, comments stacked faster than I could refresh. Wait, this is real. That's my HOA vice president. She went into your bedroom. Others chimed in, admitting they too had caught Karen on their cameras at night. By the time the HOA meeting started, the clubhouse was packed with residents holding up phones, whispering, pointing. The silence Karen had ruled with was cracking wide open. I wasn't inside, but Marcus was. He texted me 3 words at 8:12. She just walked out. Later he told me what happened. Karen tried to open the meeting like nothing was wrong, calling the videos edited and taken out of context. But then from the back of the room, someone hit play on their phone. Karen's own voice filled the hall. That ADA lift chair has been broken since March. It's not our problem unless someone gets hurt. And just like that, the room turned. Marcus seized the moment. Calm, steady, louder than I'd ever heard him. I move for a vote of no confidence. Another resident seconded it. Hands shot up, dozens at once. Karen's eyes darted from row to row, searching for allies, but even her usual loyalists kept their heads down. She tried to argue, but her voice drowned under a wave of agreement. And for the first time since I'd moved here, she looked afraid. The motion carried. Effective immediately, Karen Delocqua was suspended from her duties. I didn't cheer. I didn't even smile. I just sat in my garage staring at the old walnut workbench my father built, the same bench Karen once called a non-compliant storage item. It stood solid, unmovable, while Karen's little empire crumbled under the weight of her own arrogance. 3 days later, the community held a special election. Marcus ran and he won in a landslide. 84%. Karen sat in the back that night, her blazer wrinkled, her papers limp. No podium, no authority. She tried one last time to defend herself, claiming her tyranny was stewardship, but the room wasn't buying it. People stood up, asked the questions she couldn't answer. Did we ever vote to let you into our homes? Did we ever vote to ignore federal law? She sat down in silence. The ballots were counted in clear plexiglass boxes, transparent for everyone to see. And when Marcus's win was announced, Karen didn't even stay to hear it. By the time people spilled out onto the sidewalk, her car was already gone. No apology, no excuses, just the echo of someone who finally realized her power had limits. That's where it ended for her. And for me, that was enough. Because this fight was never just about my bedroom. It was about proving that people like her, people who weaponize rules, who think control makes them untouchable, don't always get the last word. Sometimes the silence listens back. Lesson power only works if we let it.